Goedenavond, welkom bij Topnames. Vandaag vanuit Amsterdam en Zweden. Roeland is in Zweden. In Amsterdam is onze gast van vandaag. Our guest is Avishai Trabelsi. You're from Quicargo. I always have a really simple question to start with. What do you do?
Yes, so what we do, we are in Quicargo, we're filling empty trucks. There are 50% of the trucks that you see and annoyed you on the road are empty. And our mission is to fill them with goods in our technology and service.
And why did you? Because say sort of the marketplace between goods and in this case cars. There are a lot of marketplaces in the world. Why did you start this specific one?
I was born into a family that dealing with farming and logistics, and during my whole life I was part of this industry. The latest assignment that I had is to manage the transport industry, and there I was struggling a lot to make it a profitable business, as the cost of transport increased every year, and it's very competitive market, so you couldn't really raise the prices of the companies. Then the margins become very, very low. And once I realized that this is not only our problem, and it's everywhere in the world after traveling, and I also learned that the only thing that you can actually do is to utilize the assets, the trucks in that in our context in a better way. It directly goes to the margin, because you already pay the fixed cost as the truck, the fuel and the drivers, the salary.
So far I understand. We had a lot of startups, but several startups in our studio who started a platform to optimize transport. How do you do it in your case with trucks? I mean, explain us, please, in a little bit more detail how it works.
So in one side, we're connecting to the planning softwares of the transport companies. For instance, you have 10 trucks. You are using a software to manage your planning, or you do it by hand. In both sides, in both cases, we know how to provide you a software or to integrate your existing software, and we're receiving two main data profiles. So first is the asset, how big is the truck, and how much capacity is available, and the second thing is the routing for the next day. Once we have the supply information from at the moment 10,000 trucks in the Benelux, we know how to connect them to goods owners. It can be manufacturers or fulfillment centers, warehouses, importers, freight forwarders, and they're assigned to our platform, and we match between the supply and demand with a matching algorithm as well. We also are setting the price. A smart thing of it, that because we're in a relatively small and congested area, we can learn a lot every transaction, and we can improve the price and the matching every time. And why it's so crucial, because what we do the main focus in Quicargo is the lessened truckload. So we get one truck and we connect to this truck several businesses, while other platforms are taking one manufacturer and one truck and match both of them. So we consolidate to make it more efficient.
How difficult is it in this market? Because it's a complicated market. I'm sure you made a lot of enemies during the last couple of years, because it's a market that is dominated by distribution companies. We call them in Dutch verladers, geloof ik. I don't know what the English word is, but the traditional companies who distribute the goods, over the trucks and the transport. I don't think it's that easy to just come up with a platform like yours and start your business. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I hope that for every enemy I get, at least I develop five lovers, even more. So the ratio then is healthy. But yeah, you are right. It's very traditional company. It's very traditional business that companies used to do the same thing for a while, and they're enjoying from the inefficiency that the industry used to make sometimes a profit or income that not necessarily today for the, if you look about the efficiency. So it's not always the most efficient in their profession, but it's the way to generate profit or to stay relevant to the market. Yes, lots of transport companies, when I just arrived in 2016, they said, we're not going to join you, you're disrupting the market. We work perfectly just as is today. The margin is already low. But the fact that you use the truck in a better way, the margin is improving. Yes, you're driving less kilometer. Yes, there are less trucks on the road, but not the world, and not the companies, and not the customers here are values from the asset itself. But the transaction that must be very efficient. But indeed, the challenge here, we're using a lot of technology. Technology is important, but the main challenge is the mindset of the people to accept the change. In the good side, I can say that we see improvement. It's taking time, but more and more platforms become relevant in the market for the different segments in logistics. And we see more companies that were really against 3 years ago are participating and trying even to develop their own platform. So this is all very.
Yes, I think you can only succeed in a very competitive market like this if you have something new or something different from your competitors. And there are a lot of platforms in the market you work in. But I saw that you don't really book trucks anymore, but people can book pallets with you, or 1 to 5, or very small amounts of goods that you want to transport. And of course, then the logistics become very complicated, and that's of course where technology comes in. Does it work like that? Do I understand it right? Yeah.
Yeah, I will try to simplify it because it's not so easy. But if you look about supply chain, and you can think about 3 different legs. You have the first mile, you have the middle mile, and the last mile. The last mile is the most common. You hear it a lot. It's the e-commerce, the parcels within the city logistics, which is also very complex. But there are a lot of collaboration between cities, and regulation is already in place, and some actions has been taken. And there are a lot of platforms and providers in that arena. In the other side is the first mile, is the raw material and the full truckload, the full truck that driving lots of hundreds of kilometers from mainly international to move the raw materials to the manufacturer. And you just stop me if it's too much, okay? and then there is the middle mile from the manufacturer to the city hub. So basically, it's a less than truckload. We use several pallets, like you mentioned. Normally, it's pallets. It can be also big parcels. But the difficulty is there that you need to be very efficient because it's time. The time slot is very strict, and you have a lot of pickup and delivery point for each truck. So, and why it's important to understand, because the first mile, it's no one will drive with empty truck from Warsaw to Amsterdam. No one will do it. But everyone drive empty with a space of 3 or 4 pallets from Rotterdam to Amsterdam, because they just say it's 3 or 4 pallets, it's easy. But with 1% margin, this is all the different. So what we do in Quicargo, we are getting. This is why we're very specific in the geography, because we need a lot of volume to start to consolidate. So we take the truck and we fill it with different customers in a very smart algorithm and a lot of integration for different data sets. If you will use the other platform technology to the middle mile, unfortunately, it's not going to be accurate, and then the trucks can they can miss a lot of data points, and then it will be a big failure.
Yeah.
So this is the main difference. I hope it was clear. If not, I will try in a simple way.
But I understand it. But one of the big problems, I think, is that the transport companies. I mean, your idea all depends on the willingness of those companies to share their operational data. While at the same time, that's very confidential information. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, that's the biggest point, the biggest challenge that we had when we started. No one knew about me, about Quicargo, and they were very concerned that we will share the data. But the fact is that you don't need to share any commercial information. I don't need to know which company is working or specific addresses you're driving. I just need to know your route and the available capacity. And you decide as a business what kind of data you want to share with me. We have companies that are sharing the whole planning. We have companies that sharing only when they empty in the last delivery point, when they drive back to the warehouse, and it's only specific route that we cannot. We don't have any commercial information that they cannot find in Google. And there are some companies that are not sharing any data, and then we send them the whole. They tell us we work in those zip codes, and we send to them the all relevant goods, and they need to decide what to take and not.
Yeah. Do you still have that transport company in Israel, by the way, your father's?
Yeah, my father is still running. So some days he's smiling, some days he's not. But because he wanted to retire when I left.
And yeah, okay, but when he wanted to give it to you, but you left to Amsterdam and started a tech company. Yeah.
Yeah. In a serious side, it's I don't think that's the traditional logistic provider, asset-based company can survive without sharing and collaborate with other platforms. If it's not, I'm talking about the families, or the small companies, the small to medium size. So I didn't want to spend. It's very harsh what I'm saying, but basically I didn't want to spend my years by a company or business that cannot go further. I preferred to try to find a solution in a global scale.
How did you end up in Amsterdam?
Sorry, come again.
Why did you go to Amsterdam, business-wise?
So it was a very important decision. Spend my whole money saving cars, houses, not houses, by investing and making a lot of mistakes when we initiated in Israel. I learned two things. First, our neighbors will never work with us, not never, but they're not going to work with us in the upcoming years. So it's very limited market in matter of expansion. And secondly, the transport companies mainly are still working manually and without technology that I can integrate with. So the gap between what we wanted to introduce to the actual market was too high for a startup to learn. So I did those mistakes, and then but the good thing was that I saw that there is an interest and from both sides. I traveled 3 months in Poland, UK, Netherlands, Belgium, Germany, and I just spoke with a lot of companies because I wanted to understand which market I can have a good answer for those two challenges that I found. And I came here because here it's the center of the blue banana. Basically, it's all the goods to Europe moving from the Benelux and the southwest of Germany. So this is a really good location. You can spend easily, and per kilo, it's a relatively small country, but per kilometer is the biggest in volume. And entrepreneurs and logistic companies already using a lot of technology here because of it's a very competitive market. For many years, historically, it's a trading country. So this is the two things this is why I came here. But on top of it, it also was to see very nice the culture of the people. the business and the Dutch culture, because people just say, okay, they weren't too afraid or concerned like Poland, or looked for lots of credibility like Germany. They just said, okay, you can save us money, let's try, we'll see what's happening. If it's not good, we'll kick your ass in 1 month. But they were willing to try.
Okay.
And even before I had any product, so I just came with the idea, and then they agreed to sign about a letter that's saying they will join. This is how we started.
Okay, Avishai, question from Johan Schaap.
Yeah.
He wants to know how big you are at the moment and how many trucks you fill with goods on a daily basis.
Yeah. So how big you are, it's you can answer it in a different ways, but I think he meant to the size of transactions or companies. So we have 4,000 manufacturers, so the shippers, we call them, and we have around 400 transport companies that, if you consider together the whole the trucks that they are owning, it's around 10,000 trucks. And per day, I cannot say exactly per day how many transactions, but we do a couple of thousands.
And what are your ambitions? Where do you want to go with this? How far are you now with your ambitions?
So let's start the vision. So in 10 years, we would like to be basically the structure of the all integrated platform within the middle mile within Europe. So our intention is to stay in Europe because of the complexity between the countries. We see a lot of development. In 5 years, we want to be the strongest platform in the middle mile within the Western Europe, and in 2 years to have at least 3% from the Benelux, and also very good footprint in Germany and UK.
Okay.
Yeah, for every platform, Avishai, it's a big challenge if you are starting and you're growing to keep the balance between the demand and the supply. How was that in your case? I know a lot of startups who started the platform had really big problems, to service both sides at the same level. Did you have that problem too? We call it in Dutch a kip-ei-probleem.
Yeah, and we call it
chicken egg.
Yeah, and we call it fake it until you make it. So basically, what we did, it's true. You must have balance, otherwise it's not gonna work. It's very clear circle between the demand and supply. But we signed contract with large transport companies, and it's still running. So once we have ordered placement, ordered request, and we couldn't find available empty trucks for this request, we integrated to the transporter, the backup transporter that guaranteed to take it. So then 100% the demand, you have a solution in the area we are working. So this is how we could guarantee 100% execution for each transaction, and this is how we grew. Without it, it's crazy. It's impossible.
Yeah, but that's probably a very expensive solution. I mean, you have to guarantee everybody who wants to send his goods somewhere. The margins are extremely low, as you explained already to us. So that those shipments probably cost you money.
Yeah, you're right. So it's in the start we invested, we lost money, and as you grow, you're break even, and now we even profit in that transaction, because if you have volume and you can have buying power, more carriers wants to be backup in specific areas, and we limited it in very comfortable transaction. So you're as a backup carrier, you're getting your home area, so always you have trucks around, so it's not a lot of effort for you, and we pay good for those transactions. So indeed it's a process.
talking about money and that, how does your business model work?
Transaction fee. So every time you book a shipment, you see X amount, you see 100 euros, and within our fees is already incorporated in that amount. And I saw the question about the pricing. So we have a dynamic pricing model. So once again you feel I want pallets to move 3 pallets from Rotterdam to Amsterdam. In 60 seconds, you already see the price, and this is based on the algorithm that we developed. And basically, we took the whole information from the carriers that they gave us the prices for those specific transactions, and on top of it, we are also checking the impact of the seasonality and the capacity in the market, etc., and all the additional costs. And the latest layer is the AI. So basically, we see based on the movements of and the capacity in each area how much it will cost. For instance, if you have in Rotterdam 100 trucks and everyone jumping on a transaction, it should be this price. But if we have only 10 trucks, it will take time, so the price will go down, so the carrier can accept it. But for the shipper, you see right away the price. So we're not waiting for this bidding. This is changing our margin. So our margin can go from 0, even losses in cases, to 20%.
Hey, you come from a traditional transport company, and now you're a technology company. What have you learned from starting a technology company?
It's the main lesson was about my management skills. I used to manage the drivers and office people and warehouse people, and there it was very micromanagement based on so it was very straight management. And when I applied those management skills that I had, it was terrible. I lost a lot of amazing people because I just shut them down. And I knew, because I already did a lot of mistakes in Israel, I knew exactly what I shouldn't do. I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew what I cannot do. And therefore I was very precise with and demanding for the team. So that was terrible. It was a terrible mistake, and I lost great team members because of it. But I will be very careful by saying that I really improved. But now I'm more trying to develop people and then to let them give them a lot of responsibility. This is the main thing. I think you ask about traditional and technology, but I think they're all about people. And once you give space to the people to develop themselves, you can do whatever you want with the team.
But if you say that, if you now would go back to a traditional company, could you apply that same management skills to that, or did you need to do it in the way you did it?
Well, it will be very ambitious because though it's different people in matter of education, in matter of ambitious, in matter of everything. So it will be very difficult to apply the way we work today. But I think it can be a transformation for those companies. But to be honest, the tool, the investment, the effort, and the capabilities of those companies to do it, I think it's really limited.
And in a way, you were forced to do it now as well, because you were losing really good people. So you had to learn it the hard way.
Yeah, I would stay by myself. I would even drive the trucks if it.
Do you have important competitors in this market? How competitive is it? I mean, I'm talking about the platforms. I mean, I know, I'm in the jury of the Dutch Interactive Awards, and we had a platform, for example, for shipping, which is doing, I think, exactly the same what you are doing, but then for ships, cargo ships in the Netherlands. Are there many platforms like this who are trying to connect demand of goods together with transportation and transport.
Yeah, I will start with the macro level. The supply chain now, already in the last few years, and will continue. There is a transformation. Okay, from like it was in the travel industry. Now it's happening in our industry, and it will happen. And the way to do it is straightforward by utilization and efficiency. And those platforms like us and hundreds of them in the world are trying to invest in different niche and different segments of the market. So this is happening, and there are many platforms. Now, if you look about the benefits of that, so companies are starting to understand that this is the future, and we saw a lot of interesting transactions in the last year that showing that traditional companies already putting their effort and money there. For the and if you look about the market in Europe, it's around 320 billion transportation market, and the platforms didn't reach yet 2%. The whole platforms in the whole, so it's an endless possibility. And the lower to get to our specific market, there are a lot of companies in the full and if you remember the first mile. And a lot of companies in the last mile, but not a lot of companies in the middle mile. So this is what's unique in Quicargo, because it's damn difficult to do it, and it's really you need a lot of technology and patience. Because, for instance, our transaction is 100 euro, and the transaction for full truckload is 1,000 euro. So if you look about expansion in matter of GMV and revenue, it's not your field. But we believe that will get more and more complex and more congestion, and people will demand more different parcels, and it's all become more city infrastructure, and we need to support it in one way, and we believe that we do.
And actually, what you're saying, if the market of what you're doing is 360 billion in Europe,
20, yeah.
and there are only 2% of that is taken by platforms at the moment. I mean, there's space for everybody. That's what you say.
I said that we're just starting the revolution.
Yeah.
Okay. Where will you, if you look 1 year ahead, where will you be then? Market
Hopefully,
volume.
yeah. Hopefully back to the office, because now we work some at the house, some at the office. So hopefully get to a kind of a routine that we really liked before in that perspective. In matter of next year, we would like to have two things. So first, to close our large A rounds in matter of funding, as well to get to break even in the Netherlands. So this is the two goals.
Okay, not too fast. The A round. How much money do you need?
You like numbers. You like the figures.
Yeah, I like numbers. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
So we have several scenarios, but if you want the average, is around 8 million.
Okay. And if you say you're almost break even, what do you need that money for?
So the break even is for operational cost. Yeah.
But you're going to use the money for to accelerate the growth.
Exactly. So next year we're gonna stop spending money about operation, and we start to invest in growth for different locations, and to double our R&D team.
What has the impact been of COVID-19 on the transport business?
Yeah, it's a transport and also supply chain is kind of a mirror for our economy. So you see the same thing. You see the lots of sectors are going down or even stopping. So like flowers, the Horeca now, all those non-essential goods. So we have the same. We have we see the drop in those sections right away, but we see the growth in the for instance essential goods and food and e-commerce. When it was good weather, we did the highest score in barbecue and gardens things because people were stuck at home, so we did a lot. But what's interesting I was very proud of it, because what we did, we took the transport companies that were with sectors that went down, for instance, the flowers. All their life, they just transport flour. This is what they know. So now they were 50 or 40% without work, and with the margins that they can close in a few months. But then we took the trucks and we started to move gloves or essential goods for hospitals. And we actually, they saw growth while without Quicargo, they were just drying or closing. So that was very strong. And when you speak with the owner of a company, that all his company working in the company, and he said, you saved the company, you gave us the way to survive during those times. I did everything. I already, that this give me the energy to continue and to try to my team to run this company.
I can imagine. That's really nice. Yeah. Okay, Avishai, thank you very much. I really enjoyed the talk, and already we've been talking for half an hour, so time flies.
Wow.
When you're having fun. Yeah.
I was really impred with what you're doing. Yeah. Good luck.
Yeah. Thanks a lot much, and enjoy. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Jullie bedankt voor het kijken. Iedere week zijn we er, iedere dinsdagavond zijn we er. Er is een nieuwe traditie geschapen vanavond. De gast verlaat het pand voordat ik de afkondiging nog heb kunnen doen. Maar goed, dat doe ik dan nog even alsnog. Maar het heeft eigenlijk ook wel wat, Stekel, vind ik. Dus dan kunnen we nog even napraten.
Kunnen we nog even napraten. Hè?
Ja, even. Ja. Maar goed, ik vond het een interessant gesprek in ieder geval. Oké, bedankt allemaal. Bedankt zoals altijd. Jetstream uit Groningen, PQR uit Amsterdam, Bier & Co uit Amsterdam en Freedom Lab uit Amsterdam. Volgende week dinsdag zijn wij er weer. Dus hopelijk tot dan.